What's up, everyone? Adam Gelman here. We are back with another video, another roundtable discussion. I have two awesome people that are going to be joining the discussion, one of which you're probably familiar with, one of which maybe not. He is kind of a social media celebrity, I'll say that way. I know he's gonna tell me that that's not a big deal, but I mean, he was on the PWC Iconic 100. He's been all over Instagram and a few other places. So Jamison Long, welcome to the conversation. I know that for WTC listeners and viewers here, he may not be a familiar face, but for a lot of people around the hobby, he is. So I want to let Jamison introduce himself, then we'll kick it over to Ryan and we'll get going on this immaculate breakdown here. So Jamison, welcome.
Oh, thanks, Adam. Thanks for having me on, man. It's really an honor to be on. And I know me and you have been talking behind the scenes about this set for a while. So it's exciting that it's on the precipice of coming out here. But for those of you who don't know me, like Adam said, my name is Jamison. I go by Exquisite Sports Collectibles on a lot of the social media, especially Instagram, which is probably my biggest place where I display some of my collection and things that I get in from time to time. I collect pretty much every sport, all stick and ball sports primarily. I'd say my main collection is probably basketball related, as well as a good bit of soccer, but also really, I've been a lifelong wrestling fan, but really started getting into the cards probably over the last 2 years, I would say. And just really been enjoying it. It's been a fun community to kind of get into and just dive in and kind of find my little niche in there and do what I can. My main focus over the last probably year and a half has been Roman Reigns, especially tribal chief version of Roman. And and it's been fun, especially collecting him, playing out with the whole bloodline scenario, the way it's playing out. So it's been an exciting time, and who would have thought the run would be going this long, but it's exciting.
Yeah, man. And I think it's interesting, like you're a little underselling your collection, because I think I've looked through your page, man, and like the stuff that you have on there is some of the most iconic collectibles, not just cards, collectibles. Because I even saw yesterday you had Amazing Fantasy 15 up there. Like there's a bunch of comics, there's Spider-Man cards, there's Marvel cards, and then there's also wrestling, basketball. I mean, you name it, like you have just an absolutely insane collection. And just if you ever have time to go on his Instagram page or the Facebook page, like just awesome stuff. And I don't want to blow smoke up your ass because no one likes to hear that, but this is one of those times where I think you really have one of those things that most collectors just only look at in pictures. You get to experience it every day, so it's really cool. I'm really excited to have you on as you mentioned, kind of a newer wrestling collector, but one that I think has made a lot of waves because you've acquired so many of these statement pieces over the last few years. So it's great to have you join the conversation. Ryan, as always, my partner in crime. How's it going, my friend?
Doing wonderful, doing great. So you guys know me, Ryan Schear. Obviously, we all know the Twitter fiasco. I think I'm going to start an Instagram channel just to show some of my cards. My primary focus is Macho Man and Bruce the Barber Beefcake autographs only. And I have all my Macho Man cards in this giant binder, and I'm thinking I'm at the point where I kind of have to put them in top loads and put them in a 2-row shoebox because the damn binders. I'm in like a 4-inch binder, and it's just overflowing.
Yeah. So, and you have like these 101 cards in like a 9 slot. Like,
yeah, I kind of go old school with the binder. I like flipping through and looking at them. I feel like cards get lost. It's like if you look right here, this is a big wall case. I have 2 of these in my office. And that's why I like looking at them, and I feel like putting them in a binder not only kind of connects back when I was like 7, 8, 9, 10 years old with 87, 88, 89 Topps baseball, but if you put them in a box, I think stuff tends to get lost, and you forget you have stuff, and you don't get to look at it as much. So we'll see. Maybe they make a 6-inch binder. I'm sure they do. It's one of those.
Awesome. So we're here tonight to talk about Immaculate Collection, which is making its debut in WWE coming up here. It's been pushed a couple of weeks now, but I think we're finally going to see it probably near the end of February here. I think we've all seen the sell sheet by now. I think there's a lot going on there. But having somebody like Jamison on is cool because he has a really big collection of Immaculate cards from other sports. And I think there's a lot of hobby context to be sort of shared here. Overall, guys, like for both of you, and we'll start with Jamison, we'll kick it over to Ryan as well. Like when you think of Immaculate and you think of the place that it has in the hobby, like what does that represent to you in terms of what Panini brings and sort of in an overall sort of hobby context as it comes into wrestling for the first time? Jamison?
Yeah, I mean, I love Immaculate. I mean, honestly, from a design aspect, I think it's always one of Panini's best looking cards, if not the best set they put out every single year. The only difference between that and like a Flawless is like Flawless is all on card, where Immaculate will sometimes have a little bit of sticker autos sprinkled in, but that's usually on like the lower subsets for them. But most of the premium sets within the Immaculate run are always on card autos. And I know it started with basketball back in 2012, 2013. And one of the designers for Immaculate was one of the old Upper Deck designers from when they were making cards, Carvin. And, I think it has a lot of the Ultimate Collection type of feel to it for older collectors that remember that collect other sports. So it's always been one of my favorites. I love the acetate memorabilia on card auto kind of combination. I think it's just such a slick look. And so I'm really excited that we're finally getting with Panini on card autos with memorabilia and really just that top end set. So it's going to be exciting. And we've been looking forward to it for a while.
Absolutely. Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, Jamison really hit a lot of the key points on the head with this set. This is probably Panini's best design set as far as picture choice, the materials used. When I think of Immaculate, I think of acetate like number one acetate. But I think about acetate done right, because you can have companies that use acetate, but they use the wrong pens, so the autographs don't look crisp on them. Everything is on point with Immaculate. I also I like to see the subsets that come in Immaculate, because they really kind of bring you stuff like moments and milestones. And we're going to talk about the Hall of Fame cards, and we're going to, and in sports they do they talk about Hall of Fame and stuff like that. And then, but I really think that they're gonna bring it home with this one. But it's always just a really well designed set. People are really gonna take a step back when they see these cards in hand, because they really are beautiful pieces of art. They really are. It's really a nice set.
Yeah, you guys both mentioned the acetate thing. For those who aren't familiar with it, it's kind of like, imagine those transparencies that your teacher used to put on the overhead projectors. It's a clear piece, but this is like a finish to the cards. Yeah, he's holding them up right there. It's a very shiny, clear, like acetate finish to the cards that's put on the back of regular cardstocks. It looks absolutely tremendous in hand. But I think one of the other things that really sort of drove me to Immaculate, besides it being, I think, one of the most consistently well-designed sets, because I think even Contenders, National Treasures, like they've all had their down years. I haven't seen one of those with Immaculate. I really don't. And that's what's so impressive to me about this set, is that over almost a decade now, I think, maybe if a full decade, like they really haven't had a down year for Immaculate. Now, one of the things that you did mention, Jamison, which I'm kind of surprised about, is like, for a while, National Treasure didn't have the logo men or the shields. They were only in Immaculate, right? So this is where, like in the hobby, the first real sort of logo chase sort of came from. If I may be mistaken on that, but I know Flawless has now sort of since adopted it. National Treasures has adopted it. But overall, like Immaculate was always where you had those single autograph logo men for the first time, right?
National Treasures actually did beat them to the punch on it. But Flawless for a long time. Actually, so National Treasures for Panini, for basketball at least, came out in 2009, 2010. That was when they got the license. And Immaculate and Flawless didn't come out until 12, 13, and they did come out together. But Flawless did not have the logo man, and Immaculate did. And it was like that, I think, for about 3 years or so before they finally started adding the logo man into Flawless. Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember like for a while, like they had the rookie ones had them. Maybe they had the colossals too that had shields and logos too. But this was always one of
Yeah.
those sets that I think just did it so well. It was clean. It was like focused on just really awesome looking premium cards. And I think coming into
Yep.
WWE, like debut editions always do better than other years. And I think looking at this checklist, like I am seeing nothing but just banger after banger after banger in a lot of ways.
Mhm.
I think there's some misses, right? I think there's some things that we could have seen a little bit better, but I think we also have to realize this is probably year one of many, so they got to save some for the sequel a little bit. But just overall reactions, Ryan, when you look at the checklist and you think about like the first go through in your mind, what were your initial reaction?
I was really, it's a huge checklist. There's a lot of stuff in this set, and it only, I mean, Jameson was like 5 or 6 cards per pack. We're talking here.
Yeah, it's typically like 5 or 6. I mean, that can vary a little. Sometimes they'll stuff a pack, it seems like, with an extra card or two, but I think on average, you're going to get about 5 or 6 cards.
Yeah, and one of those, maybe 2 are going to be a base card. So, you know, I don't think you're going to see the big hits as frequently as like an Impeccable, where we were seeing it like 2 out of 3 boxes in the case really had like an Undertaker or something really high end. But I think that you're going to see a nice consistent flow of very aesthetically pleasing, eye-pleasing cards. And I think you're going to be really happy with those cards when you get them in hand. Like I said, the pictures don't do justice. You can look at a sell sheet and look at those cards, and they will blow your mind when you get them in hand. And this set won't be any different. There are a couple misses, which we will talk about, and then there's always a topic that I bring up, which Adam knows what it is. I'll bring it up when it comes to certain sets, but I'll get to that when we get to the certain sets. So.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And Jameson, what were your initial thoughts? I know you, because you collect one guy just like me. I collect Becky, you collect Roman.
Yeah.
I think you were a little disappointed originally. I won't steal all your thunder, but sort of as a whole, like when you look at it from the whole set checklist at once, like what was your initial reaction?
Well, I think, this has probably been one of the most awaited checklists in a while for a product to actually run down it. So when you get it, well, first of all, the whole time, your imagination is running wild about what could they possibly put in this product, based on some of the previews you've seen. So then when you first get it, at being a collector of a certain person, you run down for the person that you collect, right? You don't really take into consideration the whole set. So originally I ran down it and I was like, oh, okay, there were some cards missing that I was kind of hoping, and we discussed that. And again, we won't steal any thunder because I know we'll kind of probably talk about that later. Yeah. So I was like, okay, well, there's a few cards I really want to get for my Roman collection. But then I kind of looked away from the set for a while, and then I started breaking down, some of the multi-signature cards, which I'm sure we'll talk about later, which is just some real cool. And then I started kind of looking at some of the names that probably, I don't know if they've ever been in any type of really wrestling set before. There's a few I wasn't expecting. I was like, that's cool. And then I was looking at some of just the broader feedback of the wrestling community. And that kind of re-engaged me because people will seem to be like super excited about some of this stuff. And so it kind of got me re-excited about some of the possibilities here. And so, I'm excited for it. And I think, the set can be so nuanced as far as especially when you get these jumbo patch autos, which we'll talk about later, but the quality of patch is going to greatly, persuade values on some of these cards, as we've seen in Chronicles already, right? You can get 2 cards, same run, same print run, but depending on what they decide to put on there from a piece of fabric perspective, could persuade cards from being a couple hundred to a couple thousand, so it'll be interesting to see as Ryan said, the cards are beautiful. Now it'll really be interesting to see in hand what's there. And then the next thing that runs on in my mind, what's going to be live and what's redemption, but I'm sure talk about some of that stuff later.
Yeah. And you brought up a really good point. I think both of you were touching on just there's so many changes to a specific little aspect of a card that can increase value exponentially over the course of these sets. You have awesome patches, card goes up exponentially in value. You have a cool nickname inscription, which we'll get to, some of those things that are going to be part of this. I'm sure you saw, one of the previous panelists that we've had on the show, he showed his Randy Orton redemption. It had like 4 inscriptions on it. Like, he bought that card probably for $400 or $500. It's now easily a $2,500 card just because no other card is ever going to have those types of inscriptions on it. But those are the types of things I think Immaculate are going to bring to the focus here because of just so many different aspects of this. Like, I'm looking at, there's like over, I think there's almost 2,500 cards in this set, and they all have parallels. I mean, there's just it's a huge checklist. There's 5 boxes per case. So as Ryan was saying, it's not 3, all of that stuff. So it's like, there's going to be some stuff there that I think is going to be key. So let me pull up the checklist, because I actually do have it here. So we'll share that while we're talking here. And let me see here if that will work. That come up correctly?
Yep.
Looks good.
All right, perfect. So I've got it all broken down here. So this isn't the way the real checklist looks. This is just sort of my own pivot table, but this is the actual checklist. We're not going to go card by card. But I did pull out the sets. You can see the names here, and you can even see some of the things like the first off the lines and stuff like that. There's a lot here. And as I was saying, of the cards in the set, there are 2450. That's a huge product. I think that's almost twice as big as Impeccable, maybe 3 times as big as Impeccable. I think we're at a select level sort of like amount of cards that you'll probably have to chase for if you're like me. My next video is going to be from a shack on the street because it's going to bankrupt me for having to pay for all this Becky stuff. But I think this is so cool. Like, this is where I think those hobby standards really come to the forefront of these types of discussions, because for a long time, we've been waiting for these things like National Treasures to come to wrestling. We got that in Chronicles, not a full set, I get, but this is really that one of those legacy products that's been a cornerstone for what Panini has been able to do. Getting it in wrestling is just a really huge deal. So I want to go to the actual set call outs, because I actually had you guys prepare some here. I'm going to start with Jamison just because his are the first down here. And you said that the ones that some of the sets that you were looking forward to the most were sort of those milestones and the moment sets, just like Ryan had mentioned, but also that premium memorabilia autograph set. So let's start with the milestones here, because I think this is one that I was looking forward to, because that's really what Immaculate was for me when I was collecting football. Was they had these single parallel sort of cards based on a specific moment. What are you seeing here what's really sort of jumping out to you?
Well, I mean, you kind of alluded on it. Football, soccer, basketball, milestones has always been one of the most popular sets. And, let's face it, like sports, wrestling, like matches can be cool, but we watch for the moments and the big events, right? So to have these kind of commemorated on these cards. And so this is another set, where nuance comes in. Like, what are they going to have documented on each one of these cards? Like, is it Hogan beating the Sheik? Is it Hogan, what is it of Hogan? Is it Taker with the WrestleMania streak? Is it Roman for how many days Reigns he's been champion? All this stuff, Orton winning, youngest ever to win the title. It'll be interesting to see what they choose and what images they choose, because I think those can play a big factor on what type of kind of coin some of these cards will bring in. So acetate finish, usually very nicely struck by pen, not a lot of bubbling and smearing and stuff like that, like Ryan alluded to. So it's going to be an exciting set to see. And I think photography and exactly what they're documenting for each milestone and each moment is going to play a big role. And, I think these will be heavy for wrestling collectors, especially specific collectors. And I think it'll be fun set to build. I mean, it's not too limited enough where I think it'll still be somewhat affordable, where if people want to put this set together and document all these milestones, it'll be affordable for a set collector to try to put it together. So I think had it been only 10 or 25 of these, it might have been a bit tougher, but having 49 being the lowest print run, I think it does give people the opportunity to kind of chase this set as well.
Yeah, John Cena citing 99 like the true signature warrior that he is. Go ahead, Ryan.
But what jumped out to me is the numbering on this set, because I'm surprised there's not one card that's like out of 10.
Yeah, they usually do that. Yeah.
Right. And that's what they usually, you're right. That's what they usually do. I could see it being 49 all the way through, and then like Hogan's 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Making the set incredibly difficult. But this, I mean, 2,500 cards when you're getting 25 cards a case. That's
a lot.
That's a lot. I mean, but this is, like I said, I am for this. I am for this because anybody who wants an on-card John Cena, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
I think,
and it'll be affordable.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And I like some of them. I think for the milestones, I expect them to call out. I can't see them going anywhere but the streak for the Undertaker. I think that milestone is, if that's not the card, that's a huge miss. Like, I think Undertaker, and that makes this card valuable because that streak is so important to WWE. Like 49 copies, sure, but it's the streak. Like, that's what everybody remembers him for. Roman Reigns, I don't know, because this thing is still going on. Like his reign is still going on. So I'm not sure what they're gonna do there. Yeah, some of these milestones.
For Roman, it could be the unification of the titles at WrestleMania.
There you go. That could be it. He's the first undisputed in how many years since Jericho? So, I don't know, since Jericho, the age of Jericho.
Him just winning the title, period. It doesn't have to be, like Natalia. What's Natalia's going to be? Forgive my ignorance. Something obvious.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, winning the women's title.
She has the most wins. I think she has the most wins ever for a female wrestler in WWE.
Ah, there you go. Yeah, Jamison's on it. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So let's move on to the moments here, because I think this is one that I was hoping and praying that Becky was going to be in the set. She's not, which is really sad for me. But this is where I think there's going to be some huge sort of, because WWE, as you said, Jameson, is a company built around moments. So like, what jumps out to you here in sort of this list of people? Because I think we're getting Kofi Mania at the top, but what are some of the other ones?
Oh, for sure. For sure. Definitely. I think we got Kofi Mania. I mean, Triple H has so many moments, maybe coming back from that big injury he had, that could be it. Mankind's got to be winning the title on Raw, I would think, when he,
I would think so.
that infamous night.
We're getting thrown off the cage.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, that's a good call. That's a good call. That would be awesome, actually.
Could you imagine if this card is an acetate and it's shot from the floor and Mankind is halfway down with the Undertaker in the background?
That's a great card.
Yeah. That'd be awesome.
That's what this set is all about. And this maybe is like the Roman Reigns on this set as well. Maybe that's where he's sort of the unification. But yeah, if it's Hell in a Cell, man, that'd be so cool.
Yep. I mean, Hogan, if you have Hogan like body slamming Andre the Giant for the moment, how cool would that be?
Has to be.
There's so many. I mean, Shawn has so many. Stone Cold. I mean, I know they won't put it on there because there's blood, but could you imagine if it was Stone Cold's face in the sharpshooter? I know they wouldn't do it probably because of the blood, but
they can't. Yeah, I mean,
your mind just runs wild on the possibilities.
If that card is him with the crimson mask, I'm buying that card. Like, I think that's such a cool.
I want it when he sprayed him with the beer truck.
Oh,
that'd be cool.
He's had so many. Like, there's so many Stone Cold moments. I think the crimson mask, I think, is still the number one. Like, it was a shirt, like, I think that's one of those moments that need to be captured. But again, the blood, like, this is one of the things that I was always hoping we would get, like, Shawn Michaels and Ric Flair with that match at WrestleMania. I love you, I'm sorry. Cody, I think they're going to go with a WrestleMania return, I'm sure.
Got to.
I don't know what else he could be, but these are the types of cards that I wanted to see a lot of, because when this came out in football, this was always the set that I looked for. One year they had an Adrian Peterson and a Stephon Diggs for the Minnesota Miracle, and I had to go get those cards right away. I hope these are similar acetate finish. I hope they're really cool photography with great on-card autographs. Like, that's my dream here.
Yeah.
All right. So you also wanted to call these premium memorabilia cards, and this is a much larger checklist. Is this sort of going back to your basketball and football roots? Like, what was driving you to this particular set, or is it the fact that we could see some really awesome patches?
Well, I think it's all of it. I mean, in basketball, this is referred to as the premium patch set. So it's huge patch window, and just nice on-card auto. And, correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, even going back to the Topps days, and I wasn't around for all the Topps days, more towards the tail end, I don't remember a jumbo patch on card auto.
Never happened.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is the first time in wrestling cards, I think we're getting something of this nature. So I think, this is always one of the highlights of Immaculate. And then when you kind of factor in, just some of the really, sometimes in a basketball, when you're in a basketball or football product, you get a team like the Cleveland Browns or the Boston Celtics that only have two colors on their jersey and the whole thing. I mean, your mind, there's only so much they can do with it. But when you take a look at some of these wrestling shirts, when you've looked at what they did in Chronicles with like Roman and Alexa and Ray and all those guys that have just those really, outlandish shirts that they can get all kinds of imagery on. I mean, it really just makes you wonder what some of these are going to look like. And then, so looking at the checklist, I mean, obviously, as much as I hate to say it on this, Roman is probably the main chase out of the male side of things. You have Brock in there as well.
Is that going to be a matte relic, though? That's the only thing. Like, they've been using the matte relics for him. I don't think they got him to wear shirts.
We'll see. Yeah, I guess we'll see.
I think
maybe they got one of his flannels off of him when he was Cowboy Brock.
Right, that'd be awesome. Well, those are the types of things I hope we see.
Yeah, I mean, Theory, I think, is a big sleeper because I think that guy in the future is going to be a star of the company. Gunther coming off Royal Rumble. I mean, that guy's stock has never been higher. Seth obviously probably sells way less than he should, but I still think there's enough hardcore Seth collectors out there that if you get a really, really nice patch, I think I could go into the 4 figures easily with the right kind of look to it. Orton, there's some big Orton collectors out there. And then, maybe the hottest guy in the business is down below, which is Sami Zayn. It'll be interesting to see what Sami prices do here, with this run he's on. And then the women, I think you have some really, really heavy hitters with Asuka. I know there's some big Asuka collectors. Obviously, Becky. Sorry, Gelman. And Alexa, and we know what the Alexa collectors will throw coin on if it's a card they need. So
yeah, and I see them like they're going to have multiple parallels. So we're just looking at the overall checklist. So if you go to the full sort of like breakdown here, like if you go to premium memorabilia autographs, like there's a lot of different variations here, including the first off the line one, which we'll get to here later on. But I think when you get down into those platinum ones, which are the 101s, like we have red at 25, you have gold at 10, green at probably what is that 50? I don't know. But like
green's out of 5. Green's out of
5. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a lot of potential here to get some insane patches. And I think, because the swatches are so big, we saw what happened with National Treasures. You got one of the best ones, Roman Reigns, which is just a collection making defining sort of piece for most collectors out there. Like, I think we're going to get on card versions of stuff like that. And I think not only that, it's going to be it's just going to look so much cooler because it's just this well-designed product. We've seen some of the ones they've had signed. I love, this is probably the set that I'm chasing the hardest. Like I really want that really nice Becky patch, but I don't know. Ryan, what's your thoughts on where you see these premium memorabilia cards going here?
I really just hope it's not a lot of mats, to be honest with you. I'm not a mat guy. I don't unless it's a very, very specific mat from a very, very specific match. I don't see the connection to the wrestler. I just don't. And you know what? You might, and people might, but I don't. I want to see a shirt. I want to see, elbow pads, knee pads, head bandanas. I want something that was actually on the person. So with these print runs, I mean, it's a ton out of 99. I mean, I guess you could use just a plain white t-shirt swatch on a lot of them. And then hopefully as the scarcity levels drop, you start seeing more and more premium. But I just think that this screams matte to me. So
yeah, I think we'll get some. Like I didn't see Charlotte Flair on here because I know they've been using mats for her. Brock, mentioned before, they've been using mats for him. But I don't know. Like there's definitely some potential here that we would see some non-shirt relics, but from the ones that they've previewed, they've all been shirts so far. So that's at least we're
Good.
starting to see that they are for the one-on-ones and for the main sort of lower scarcity cards. The relics are really nice. All right, so Ryan, let's
I think
move
the
on
one
to
they sold for the
go ahead.
Miz, I think the one they showed for the Miz was the acetate, and that was definitely a nice piece of shirt on that card.
Yeah, that one was that was the small 1x1 swatch. In the sell sheet, there's a Becky one in the sell sheet. It had sort of like that print from the back of the collar. So I don't know. Like I was told that that this is going to be the set. Like the premium is going to be the main set. But I think there's definitely some potential chases in some of these other autograph swatches, and there is a rookie version of this too. So just because there's no NXT sort of rookies like Breaker and Carmelo Hayes and all those guys, like there is a rookie version of the set. I can bring it up real fast here, just to we can go through what that looks like. But because there is even an acetate first off the line version of that too. But these are the types of things that as you get into these rookie memorabilia cards, like there's a lot of different ways that this could go. And unfortunately, it's the same people that we've seen through most of this. Checklist, you got Gable Steveson, which is probably going to be a Matt. Cora Jade, we've seen on just about every one of the ones from Impeccable and stuff like that.
It's the same. It's the same
Yeah.
rookie. No Nikita.
It's not.
So these will actually be, these are the 1x1s, Adam. These are not the jumbos.
Right.
So these are like the RPAs, because if you look at the card number, they're the next ascending numbers from the regular set. So these are actually considered the rookie patch autos from the base set. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I'm sad that there's no Roxanne Perez, there's no Nikita Lyons, when a lot of collectors are looking for. So maybe that's for next year, and I think they're going to have some major focus in Prism and a few other places where we get the first autographs. But yeah, same level of people that we had in those other sets. So Ryan, one of the things that kind of was disappointing was I wish they would have just left Lyons and Perez out altogether, because they're in the base set. Yeah.
Because it's now, how can you come back and say it's a rookie card when you had him in the previous set? How can you now come back and call him a rookie?
They will.
Oh, I know. So that was one thing I was a little disappointed to see.
So I'm a big UFC collector, and when Paddy Pimblett hit the scene, they made a UFC instant card of him and put the rookie logo on it, and that was a 2021 card. And then he started appearing in 2022 sets with the rookie logo.
Right.
So they'll do it.
Sure.
Yeah, so they're gonna do it. So my question for Jamison, and you can just answer this real quickly. I always like this opinion. What do you consider the time span for a rookie in wrestling?
The time span?
Yeah. So if Braun Breaker is a rookie in 2022, is he only going to be for 2022 products? Or will he start leaking into like 2023 products as well?
Well, I think one thing they give themselves wiggle room with is the differential between NXT and WWE. Because technically NXT is considered a developmental brand. So it's kind of like in baseball, like in 2009 is Mike Trout's Bowman Chrome prospect card, which is his main card, but they didn't put rookie logo on anything, but that's his first card. That is the card. But then when he actually got called up to the major leagues, that's considered his rookie card. So I don't know how they'll play the if they'll use the NXT to WWE, because I could see Breaker going up this year probably sometime to the main roster.
Especially wrestling Carmelo at Stand and Deliver. I think that's his
I imagine whoever loses that is probably going up. So the NXT thing is makes things a little weird. So I guess they could get a little loosey with it, but I would consider this year as rookie cards. I think they will be considered as rookie cards moving forward. He has a Prism. He's in Chronicles. He's in every set they've been in. He's in Impeccable, and now he's in Immaculate. I don't see how this is not considered his rookie year, at least from a collector's standpoint.
Yeah, I think this is good. This is going to be it. I don't think they'll bring him back. I think the real question is, they've put Roxanne Perez and Nikita Lyons in some of these sets for select and other things like that. what happens next year. Are they going to have the rookie logo too? Because they didn't have autographs. They didn't have any of the stuff that these other guys have had. So I'm curious how they approach that. All right. So
they also didn't have Prism cards last year. They didn't have any Prism cards last year either.
They absolutely did not. So
Yeah.
maybe they sort of like as they get up to select, maybe they get to a point now where there's their rookie logos up until select, and then now that it's a full year, they'll start taking the rookie logo off.
It's one of those things where there's no clear-cut season in wrestling. You know,
that's the other hard
exactly.
part.
That's true.
So, you know, if someone comes up in like July of 2022, can you make the argument that from July 2022 to July 2023 is their rookie year, or is it July 2022 to the end of December? That's the thing. And I think you can,
Great point.
I know we're just semantics at this point, but that's something, Jamison, that we talk about all the time, because it seems like they're kind of, you know, all over the place with it. So,
well, there is a season. It's WrestleMania season, buddy.
Thanks, Dad. All right, so Ryan, let's move on to your sets here. So you wanted to cover the inductions, which is the Hall of Fame set. It's part of the sell sheet. We've seen a couple of them being signed. This is really your focus as a collector. I'm curious, kind of what your initial take is here.
I like the checklist. You're seeing a lot of repeats from Impeccable. But you know, you've got, you know, Ricky Steamboat's in there. That's an addition. Honky Tonk Man is an addition. $1 Million Man, Jeff Jarrett. Yeah, all those guys. So the one thing on the sell sheet. So first off, anybody watching this, wrestling collectors, they love Hall of Fame cards. Okay. So anybody who had the opinion that we don't need any more Hall of Fame cards, you're wrong, because we do. Because they're awesome, because they're absolutely awesome. And this is a great way to put legends back into the set that maybe you missed them on the checklist, on the base card checklist, because you wanted to have more current people. This is a way to get the legends back into the set for us legends collectors. Now here is my gripe. Okay. And this is my gripe for almost all of the sets. I think that there is a market that they could make these cards Hall of Fame, finishing moves, moments of deceased wrestlers. They don't need to be autographed. I think they could be an additional insert. I think that they could number them to 99. I don't know if it would be that big of a lift to do it, but I can tell you right now, a Macho Man elbow, picture of him mid-flight out of 99 would do really well. And I'm sad that we're not at that point yet, because we really need to get at that point where we are putting in the legends who have left us to make sure that they're still honored and still included in the set. This is a very, very strong checklist with very, very high print runs. Again, other than Torrie Wilson having 10 copies, which is kind of odd. I mean, for whatever reason, but this is what I was talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
But this is what I'm talking about. This is what they do. They have one card that's just insanely short printed, and it makes the set collecting difficult. Like you got, you know, Johnny Rods and Hacksaw Duggan and $1 Million Man to sign 99 copies, but Torrie Wilson only signed 10. So
yeah, and she's not one of those signers either that is anti-signing. So it's probably just it's a tactic. But right. I think the most interesting name, and I'm gonna throw this out there, the most interesting two names on this checklist. One of them is Stan Hansen, and one of them is Jeff Jarrett. Stan Hansen is I think these are the first cards that he's actually been in a set like this, signing autographs in a very long time, if ever. I'm sure Tony will be able to tell us if Stan Hansen has had autograph cards other places. The other one is Jeff Jarrett, because he's with AEW right now. And and Jeff Jarrett is, you know, TNA legend, probably more than he was a WWE legend. Probably, you know, his dad's territory was a little bit more focused to him. I don't know if his time in WWE was really like the focus for him, even though he did have a few moments. So it's cool to see that they've gotten some cool names in here. Stone Cold's here, Goldberg's here. Had we didn't get Undertaker. This is, you know, Undertaker Hall of Fame. These are wrestlers in tuxedos. So it's going to be.
I was going to bring that up. They seem to be induction speech photos where they are in tuxedos.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
I'm okay with because it's something different.
It's different, yeah.
It's something different, and you know that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
They'll look cool. We've seen them in practice. We saw them being
Yeah,
signed. I
they're
think
gonna look
Hacksaw
good.
posted. They're going to look really good.
Yeah, they're gonna look good.
Jameson, any thoughts from your side here?
No, I mean, I thought, one of the names was Stan Hansen. I don't remember seeing him in a set before. I could be wrong. Again, I don't collect Stan Hansen, so forgive me if I'm misspeaking, but I thought that was a new interesting name that we hadn't seen. Jeff Jarrett too. Can't remember the last time. I know he was working for WWE for a little bit before he went to AEW, so they must have got him to sign those cards in that time. But yeah, and then obviously, like you guys mentioned, you got this one Torrey Wilson card out of 10 to kind of just throw that wrench in there for set collectors. But I mean, Torrey was popular. It'll be interesting to see what that card brings, knowing there's only 10 copies. You're going to have your Torrey collectors, you're going to have your kind of diva collectors, then you're going to have the people trying to put a set together. So there could be kind of a price squeeze on that card because you could have these variable.
It's going to be huge, and that's what we talked about with the Impeccable video. Is that the Lita Championships was a championship year, right?
Yeah.
So Lita was what 2000, and instead of going 99, they went a 101, and that was a 101.
Somebody sold it for $1,000. Yeah, $1,000 and missed out on like probably $4,000 there. I think the thing that stood out to me the most is there's a lot of territory guys on here. So Stan Hansen, huge territory guy, but the clothesline, I know about Stan Hansen. I'm not really a big old wrestling fan. I know like his Japan work is big. Like there's a lot of stuff here that really sort of jumped out to me from that. We also have Michael Hayes in the Freebirds was very much, sort of Texas wrestling. It really wasn't sort of WWE. Now he's come to WWE and done like decades worth of work behind the scenes, but he's not on camera, right? Doc Hendricks it's been a while since we've had Doc Hendricks on TV, but I mean, Teddy Long, another really good sort of person to have on here. But yeah, overall, I think this is a really strong checklist. But having Stone Cold, I think the biggest cards will be Stone Cold at 49, Torrey Wilson at 10. That's going to be, man, there's going to be somebody who pulls it and is going to list it for $100 and should be listing it at $500 to $700, because there's going to be a lot of people chasing this set, I have a feeling.
Yeah.
I know you're about to go under it. Could you imagine next year if they did a Teddy Long Undertaker dual auto?
Yes, that would be awesome. One-on-one, baby. Right? Gotta go one-on-one with Undertaker. The Undertaker, yeah. All right, so let's move on to Ryan's second set, the signature moves here. Love that they included this. This is a really, really great one. Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, I love this set, and this set is going to be really, really super popular. Again, print runs, the lowest is 49, easily attainable. I like the names on the set, and I like, this always brings me back to, and I have one here for you, to Stone Cold's first auto.
Yep, from Fleer, the Fleer signature moves.
Yeah. The Fleer signature moves. This is going to be a super, super popular set. Like people are really going to chase this one hard. But again, I feel that you could add an element of deceased legends in this set. You could have 5 or 10 cards of, the perfect Plex. You could have Macho Man's elbow drop. You could have Warriors running splash. I mean, you really could add it just a little bit more.
Absolutely.
And this has been my gripe, that obviously you can't get them signed. Okay. These guys are dead, but to put them back in the set, I think they would be insanely popular cards. I really do. So, but the pictures are what's going to make this set. I would imagine they're all going to be on point. Beautiful pictures of the mid in the finisher. I would have liked to see a Ken Shamrock though.
Oh, that's a good one. One.
Maybe when he had the rock and he wouldn't let go.
Yeah.
So, but this is going to be a really popular set.
We didn't get Bret Hart either. There's no Bret Hart here with the sharpshooter.
No, we didn't get Bret Hart, which is that's a big omission to me. That's a big deal. And again, as a Brutus collector, he's only got 3 autographs. He has a heralded signatures base gold out of 10 and a 101. We could have put the sleeper hold in this one, and we could have had him in the Hall of Fame set too. But I'll take what I can get. So, but this is going to be an awesome set. It's going to be very, very popular. Yep. I like it. What names do you like?
Just one thing before you move along. There's one guy And maybe, maybe they're saving stuff for year 2. That was just, I couldn't believe he wasn't in the set. And that's Randy Orton. How is the RKO not in the
I was going to bring up,
set?
I was going to bring that one up.
I mean, that was one that really stuck out to me. But, you probably save guys like him and Triple H with the pedigree and stuff. Maybe it's like that for year 2 or something like that.
You could make this set 300 cards.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
This is what we live for as wrestling fans. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this is it. So
I think there's no Undertaker, there's no Hogan.
There's no Hogan.
Yeah, that's true.
There's no Hogan Big Boot. There's God. Yeah. I mean, can we just dream about a Rock Bottom?
Please, that's. And I tweeted out. I tweeted out before the Rumble. I was like, if this is gonna happen, I think he's gonna be at the Rumble. Like, get him to sign some cards. But yeah, we just need the Rock. Like, it just needs to happen. Pops got close a couple of times. I think they even had mock-ups made for when they were going to get that deal done. It just never happened. But eventually,
the people's elbow where he was in the loafers and he slid.
I mean, the loafers. Oh, that'd be awesome. Yeah.
But we'll take what we can get. This is a strong checklist. I'm pretty happy.
Even then, you could do an unsigned version of the Rock Bottom too, or People's Elbow. I think that would sell. Like, there are ways to get around
that card would be $100 easy.
Yeah.
A Rock Bottom acetate out of 99, that's $100 card all day. So something to think about if Panini watches this. That try to add some legends in there and some people you might not usually have. So.
And I think a key element of these, they're single parallels. So there's not going to be down to 101s and stuff like that where you're chasing. It's literally this card. There's 49 copies or 99 copies, 75 and 60 for some of the other ones. But like, these one parallel sets sell really fucking well. So I'm really excited to see kind of how these prices shake out, because I definitely wanted the Becky version of this. This is her only place in any of these sets. But like, these are the moves that define wrestling, right? So you've got, the Stone Cold Stunner. I don't know what Brie Bella's finisher move is. Is she using Daniel Bryan's running knee or something? But Goldberg Spear or Jackhammer, Sweet Chin Music, like those are really awesome sort of generation-defining moments. So let me just move on to some of the ones that I wanted to call out real fast. I'm going to go into another single parallel set, which I know both Jamison and I were looking forward to the set. Neither of our people were included in it. So like, can you imagine like how crazy that is that we both wanted this is my one set. And the reason I think this is so important is because when you look at autograph content, it is no longer special. When you add something to it, like an inscription like this, that's when it becomes special. That's when it becomes valuable. There's 25 copies of these. You're going to have a lot of player collectors looking to get their people. And like, hopefully, because I've seen Panini cards where they don't sign their nicknames. They don't sign the inscriptions they're supposed to sign. Tom Brady being a prime example of that.
Yep.
Like those are the types of situations I hope we avoid. But like seeing an Undertaker with a dead man would be awesome. Randy Orton, the Viper, Triple H of the game. Like he puts that on his signature all the time anyways, but this is a specific card for that. But, I think you get it down into some of the checklist is a little, it's great. Like, but, I don't think that, a Ricochet, sort of nicknames cards is going to bring the type of value that like Bret Hart would be. But again, some of these guys already signed their nicknames with the signature. So hopefully they'll add a little bit something extra. Whether it's, Triple H maybe put Cerebral Assassin or something like that instead of the game.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Or like if you look at $1 Million Man, I don't know if he signs that usually, but I've seen autographs with him, Greg the Hammer Valentine, another one. But Jerry Lawler signs the King with everything. Let's hope he signs something different. But these are the inscriptions that I live for. I love inscriptions. I have so many photos on my wall and stuff like that all have inscriptions because it's the way I love to collect autographs. So to see that they were doing this and bringing a set for the first time where an inscription is asked of the person, I think is just beyond awesome. We saw Dolph Ziggler signing his brother's nickname as a troll job, I think was kind of funny. He signed Hollywood Hunk, but all of these other guys, like there's a lot of really cool things, like Kevin Owens signing Prize Fighter or something like that would be awesome. So I'm curious, how this sort of works out in actual execution. but Ronda Rousey, baddest woman on the planet, like she signed maybe 2 on-card autographs for Topps like during the whole run. For both were for Transcendent, I think maybe even only once. And just to get her
Rowdy,
to sign,
Rowdy,
that could happen too.
But but you're right. These cards only work if they autograph them and put the nickname.
Yeah.
Because I've seen also where they just put the nickname, or they just sign them.
You know what would be cool is, with wrestlers, some of these guys have so many nicknames. If they split some of them up, so maybe, Randy Orton does 5 as the Viper, 5 as the Legend Killer, 5 as, however many monikers he has, or like Mick Foley has all the faces of Foley, or, what I mean? Like,
awesome.
so it could be interesting to see maybe if some of these guys, Shawn Michaels, HBK, Heartbreak Kid, the Showstopper, to see if any of them got kind of creative and maybe creates a chase within a chase, as some of the nicknames are a little more rare than others.
Yeah, I think that's a really awesome point. I would dive, like, that's what makes these cards so cool. I think there's one glaring omission here besides the 2 that both of us collect, and his name is Cody. His name is Cody Rhodes. Like, I thought this was Cody's like major set where he could write out the American Nightmare, and I think it'd be really cool. But going back to some of the Ryan's point about deceased legends, like being able to include some of them would be great here, just to actually have specific cards, even though if there are not signed. But like there's others that like you've been waiting for this, right? You've been waiting for a card for Hulk Hogan to have a spot to put Hulkamania or whatever it is that he wants to put in there. You've been waiting for, a place for, some of these wrestlers, Heartbreak Kid with Shawn Michaels. He does sign HBK on some of these things anyways, but like having a place where you may spell out that whole thing, or AJ Styles with a phenomenal one, like this just is so cool. So I really get fired up on it.
Can you imagine what a Bret Hart excellence of execution would go for?
Yeah.
I mean, it would just be, he already signs Hitman. So, I mean, there kind of needs to be something, if they, like you said, if they already signed their nickname in their signature, like Triple H in the game, he does that HHH the game, kind of take it up a notch, like really get in there. And I mean, I think the idea of breaking it down between the monikers would be insane. I mean, you have some real chases on your hands.
Yeah.
I think we might be overselling this a little bit, because I've been present for signings. I've been present for signings where the athletes are sitting there at the table and the card company representative goes up to them and say, "Hey, can you sign an inscription?" And the guy goes, "You want me to sign what?" And like it just decides his name. So like this doesn't necessarily sort of compute with everybody, but I think for a wrestler it should have a little bit more resonance, because they've been doing this for the wrestling autographs is such a big deal to these guys, especially retired ones. But yeah, I mean, like maybe it forces people like Seth Rollins, who have just a god awful signature, to put some effort into it too. Maybe we get Seth freaking Rollins spelled out a little bit more. Like that's what I'm looking forward to. Alexa's autograph has suffered tremendously. Maybe we get 5 Feet of Fury, and she signs it a little bit better. So that was sort of this is my one set that I wanted Becky to be in. And of course, she's not in it. Because we still haven't gotten to the Man signature edition, even though I have 80 million things signed Becky Lynch the Man. But or Big Time Bex, I do have the WrestleMania plaque that is one of those only ones that she signed Big Time Bex. But that'd be really cool to see. Maybe that's a sequel. And Roman head of the table. I mean, come on, man, I would buy that card. Like that's amazing, right?
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to some of the
hopefully that Randy Orton card from Impeccable that got the 4 inscriptions, he was just feeling motivated after signing all his nickname cards for Immaculate. So that was the,
yeah.
That card is legendary.
It's so awesome.
It's incredible.
Vintage legendary. Because that card was number 404, and I think we saw 304, and 304 didn't have it.
Yeah.
So I mean, my God, you can't part with that. You can't part with that card. That's
awesome.
just
one of a kind.
Instant icon status.
Speaking of Rob Van Dam, one of a kind. So I want to also talk about some of the multi-sign cards, because I own one of the only on-card multi-sign Topps WWE cards. They were always stickers every single time. It was always multi-signed, always stickers. These should be on card. And I think there's going to be some surprises here in sort of like how cool these cards are going to look, because I think for the first time, and I have triples and quads here. There's also dual sign cards. We saw Undertaker and Kane on the sell sheet, but like these are really awesome, and they've really done a good job at sort of pairing up. You know, like you've got Evolution here, you've got 3 of the 4 Horsewomen now that Sasha's not there anymore. But like even like Jimmy Hart and Honky Tonk and Greg the Hammer, like come on, that's awesome. Toxic Attraction is here. And then, you know, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and Undertaker from that moment at WrestleMania where they were all standing on the stage. Like, how awesome is that if they can use that?
That's a huge card right there. That's a huge card.
That's a whole era. Yeah.
I want to see how Undertaker's going to cram that signature into a triple and a quad autograph.
Yeah. Because they also have the Ministry of Darkness here. So Undertaker's in here a couple of times. And they've got, this is a great one too, where they were fighting in NXT over the $1 million belt. Like, this is a really cool one. So, I mean, like, a lot of really awesome stuff is being, like, of course you've got to have, you know, some places where you're not going to have as much value. Like here, you got the NXT UK. Is this Gallus? I think that's the name here.
Yeah, it's Gallus. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, but then you got New Day, you've got, and New Day's had a ton of triple autographs, just an absolute shit ton, but none of them I don't think have been on card. So, and then here's another one, like these are the stakeholders of the new NXT. Like, I think all of this on card makes these insanely special. And then you transfer over to the quads and it's just that much bigger. And like the DX quad, I think this is the one that I don't have words for this. If they're all in their army helmets, even better. But like, you know, this is the card that I think so many people, including Ryan, have called out for so many years. Like, why aren't we getting DX focused cards from an era in, you know, around 98, 99 when they were hugely popular versus sort of old balding, you know, Shawn Michaels, as Ryan always says, or you know, businessman Triple H, you know. So I hope we get an actual DX card. You know,
I mean, it has to be DX era pictures. It has to be. And I'm sad that Billy Gunn and China aren't on it, but this is awesome. If this card's done right, this will be one of the most popular cards in the set. Mark my words.
So I want to highlight this one too, because, you know, when you look at the defining personalities of the Attitude Era that can sign, The Rock obviously being one of those as well, I don't think there's a bigger card than that. Like, those are the top 4 signatures, and it's hard signed, which is going to be insane. But, you know, Kane and X-Pac, you know, that's going back to the Attitude Era, you know, where they were fighting with the Acolytes. Like, really awesome stuff here. All Spears. I call this the Spears card. Like, yeah. I think it's a little bit of a stretch, but it's an interesting pairing.
Yeah.
So here's the issue I see is that Triple H has been redemptions for pretty much everything.
That's a problem. So, and I think we could see a lot of redemptions in these. I was going to bring that up. Like, there's a huge propensity for these cards not to be live in the product, because it takes so much work to get them. But if they're current stars and they were at the signings, whether that would be Royal Rumble or Survivor Series or whenever they were getting these signed, like, there's a lot of events where these guys were all there. So hopefully we get some live ones and we get to see them, because I think that's all key. But then you look at the numbering. There's only 5 of these.
Yep. And
there's only 10 of these with the hearts. And you know, these are going to be tough pulls.
Hey, I want to shout out to our buddy Chris Brancato. That Triple H Rollins Stephanie McMahon card is going to be really expensive.
Really expensive. There's also a Cody Rhodes Seth Rollins duel as well.
Oh, he's going to go bankrupt.
He's going to get murdered. So those are my sets. I like I said, there's so many parts of Immaculate that I just have to see it live, and I just want to see what it looks like when the breakers are opening or when people are opening these boxes and they're sliding the card, and it's going to be 4 autographs of people like Stone Cold and Undertaker, and hopefully it's live and not a redemption. But this is what Immaculate is. This is the excitement and the chase that I think has been missing in some of these products, where we're going to drive a lot of that. I also did want to call out one specific thing, because you brought up the heralded signatures, because this is one of the sets that Brutus has autographs in. I've highlighted 4 names here. that I really saw as like, wow. And you could also say the Nasty Boys too with Brian Knobbs and Jerry Sags. But when was the last time that anybody's even referenced the Sandman in WWE
That's an
programming?
awesome card, though. That's
That's
going to be a great card.
And he was in the WCW autograph set that everybody collects as Hardcore Hack or whatever it was. But
he's also in that set. He's one of those like super short print. You never see it. Like he's not a common autograph.
ECW legend. He's one of those wrestlers that was just complete trash and trashed while he was wrestling. But like, he's one of those guys that people gravitate towards. And same with like, Marlena, Terry Runnels. This is a really interesting name. She's had a few autograph cards, but I haven't seen her with any of the Panini stuff. And then, of course, you've got Tyson Kidd. Now, for anybody who isn't familiar with that, he's married to Natalia, but he is the current backstage producer that does almost all of the women's stuff for WWE. And to see him get a card is insanely interesting. I saw that name on there and I was like, wow, like that's really cool that Tyson Kidd's getting a card. He had a couple of runs at the tag team division, but his importance is really behind the scenes, similar to Michael Hayes, even though Michael Hayes had a legendary territory sort of run. But yeah, there's a lot of names on here that I just was not expecting. And Nasty Boys too is really cool. But these are the types of things that I think Panini is going out of their way to bring to collectors. So now that we've sort of gotten through that, I know we're running short of time here, so I want to get through some of this other stuff here. There is going to be a first off the line version of an Immaculate. We haven't seen that since Impeccable. Impeccable, I think, was a really weak first off the line offering with the Reds stainless stars. This is going to be completely and utterly different because they're all going to be very low numbered acetate memorabilia autograph cards. And Jameson, you've had probably more experience with first off the line than any of us in any of the sports that you've collected. What is, when you hear that and you sort of think about what you went through with Prism, because I know you ripped a lot of the first off the line there too, like what's your take on sort of what's going on here with the first off the lines? And I'll bring up the checklists, the full checklist again, so we can sort of highlight where this is going to be. But like, you've got these main sets here are all acetate and they're all memorabilia autographs. Give me your original take here.
Right. So I think you got one thing I'll be looking at is because sometimes first off the line replaces a hit and sometimes it's an additional hit. So that's one of the first things I'll be looking at because it's a kind of a give and take because okay, if it's replacing and so your box hit's going to be one of those acetate cards, right? So that's really cool. That's really cool. But I mean, just like in any set, there's some really good ones and there's some weak ones. Are you giving up your chance of then hitting a quad auto because there's no way a quad auto can be your box hit because you're guaranteed your first off the line hit. So those are kind of some of the nuances and at that point, because obviously first of the line usually almost always sells higher than hobby, right? So will the price premium justify going after that first off the line exclusive? And is it worth throwing out, your chance at one of those multi-signed autos, which I think the premium pack, I think we're all looking for the most part at that premium pack set. And then we look at the multi-autos, I think, and those are kind of the two areas that I think are the biggest chases within the entire product.
Yeah, and
that'll be interesting to see.
I'm seeing a lot of the premium ones are out of 6 only. Some of them are out of 3, including Becky and Finn Balor, a few others. Yeah, Roman. Yeah. So the big names are short printed here. Yeah, I mean, like I think if you pull a really nice premium one out of 3, man, like unlike the Prism cards, which usually sell like if you pull the blue shimmer out of 10, it's going to sell for significantly less than the gold out of 10. This might be a little bit different, right?
I agree. 100%. Yeah, the first off the line in this will do well. I say that now, as long as it has an appropriate patch attached with what you would expect out of an out of 3 patch. If it's just a black shirt and there's no graphic on it, then it's not going to do well. But if it's Becky Lynch and it's got her face in the middle of it, Gelman, go ahead and take a second mortgage out.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the key here is like, there's going to be so many people who want, I think that's what's going to be so interesting about this set. Because if you get a 49 that has just a ridiculous badge, it's probably going to be more valuable than an out of 10 or an out of 8 that has a single color or dual color, right? And that's where
Oh,
I think
sure. Yeah.
wrestling collectors are going to be a little out of their element there, because I think there's going to be a lot of challenge in understanding the parallel structure as it pertains to some of the shifts that we're seeing in the actual content of the relics. So I mean, like, that's really going to be the defining factor here, because you could have the most insane, awesome relic on a gold out of 10, and the 101 is, maybe just another colorful thing, and it's not the same. The 10 might actually sell for more than the 101, which is crazy to believe, but that's what we saw with some of these National Treasures cards. Is you saw the 101 maybe isn't as cool as some of these other ones, and they just, different sort of price structure there. So really
Right.
interested to see how that breaks down. Ryan,
Hey,
any
Adam.
feedback from you? Yeah.
You think the wrestling collectors are having trouble grasping the idea of what FOTL is?
Absolutely. And that's why I made that video. I think first off the line is a unique concept, right? So for a long, and I think just watch the video. I'll put the link in the show notes here, but below it. But first off the line is a direct to consumer program. And it's the first of that really sort of gets around the distributor relationships that exist within the hobby. But it's become like this interesting sort of beast on its own. And I know that as you get into like the stars and stripes for National Treasures and stuff like that, those cards are insanely sought after, even though they're not part of the regular hobby product, which is usually a disqualifier. So, I mean, like, there's a lot of interesting parts of first off the line. But if you're a wrestling collector who hasn't had a lot of familiarity with what that is, there is a video on this channel. You can go in, I'll link it in the show notes here. Read up on it, because it's going to be a key element of the Dutch auction. I don't know what you guys think the top and the floor is going to be. I think floor will be box price at 400, maybe 500. Starts at 1,500. I think it gets down to probably about 650 before it sells out. I don't know what you guys are thinking, but it's basically, for anybody who's not familiar, Panini runs Dutch auctions because bots used to steal all the boxes. Things used to break down the sites. It used to crash everything. People wanted these so quickly, and they just sold out like that. So they instituted a Dutch auction, which starts at like $1,500, and every few minutes the price comes down until it sells out. What's your prediction then for the floor? Where does this sell out? If we're running 1,500 to 500 as the sort of the range, where do you think this sells out?
I think in the $500 to $600 range is what I'm predicting. Maybe a little more. I don't know. It'll probably also depend on exactly how much of it's printed, which it doesn't look like based off everything being out of 3 and 6. Probably not that much of it's being printed,
Yeah.
The other aspect of first off the line too is it also usually gets your boxes a few days before the regular release, so you also get a kind of a first crack. So for people like me that have no patience,
and me,
it gives you an opportunity to get a kind of a first kind of peek at the product as well. So I think that's another aspect that could help maybe drive some people, especially with it being delayed now 2 weeks. People are going to be antsy and wanting to get their hands on the product.
I think this drives a clear advantage for one platform over everything, and that is Whatnot. I think when Impeccable first off the line was released a week before the actual product, we were seeing Impeccable boxes go for like $1,800 at first off the line, even though the content, they sold out at floor price. So like it's not like they were going for crazy prices when you bought them off of Panini sites, but because people could, slot them out with letters and, all this other stuff, like, they were selling for insane amounts of money on Whatnot. And when you add up all the money, people just weren't thinking about how much money they were actually getting per box. I think here,
right,
if these sell out at 650, 600, whatever, you start seeing every Whatnot breaker seeing what happened with Impeccable and trying to get a huge amount of these boxes. These will sell out more quickly than I think anybody would imagine. We could see a surprise sellout pretty high, given how many of those Whatnot breakers made bank on Impeccable, and that product first off the line was not a good offering. I think those 15 cards, those cards out of 15 didn't sell well. The stainless cards didn't sell well, even though I really like them. But like there wasn't a lot of drive. But on Whatnot, they were selling for a huge amount of money because the product was early, and that's the key. So
right.
All right. So anything else, Ryan, that you wanted to add on first off the line?
No, I think Panini would be well served to put some kind of social media post showing exactly what these cards are, and just pick out the real cream of the crop as far as swatch pieces and stuff like that, just to get a groundswell of anticipation with them. Because if I'm looking at this and I don't know what it is, I don't really care, to be honest with you. People are visual learners. They need to see exactly what's going to happen and what's going to be in these packs and why they're spending, $2, $3, $4, $500 more than a pack from Steel City or Blowout. So
that is a humongous point right there. I don't think anybody understands what these cards are going to look like, including me and Jameson. We've had experience, Brian, you and I have had experience with first off the line. We know how these things usually check out, but I think wrestling is a complete sort of blank slate for a lot of this stuff. So we could either see a complete miss or a complete home run. We don't know. We don't know what the acetate finish is going to do, how all of these things are going to play out, whether it replaces a hit, to Jameson's point, what sort of the checklist sort of variations look like, collation within cases, like all of that stuff factors into first off the line where it doesn't necessarily have the same impact on hobby. Plus we saw with Prism, Jameson, you ripped a bunch of it. Like they had a lot of the big hits in that side of it. Like first off the line had black prisms that were popping out much more frequently than hobby. You had great cards. I mean, Jameson, you pulled some of the most insane stuff I've seen out of Prism first off the line. You were probably one of the luckiest people out there that pulled anything. You had the Rock, Gold Shimmer, and all the other stuff. Like great product, but we didn't know any of that going in, except for that Prism was hype, right? Like that was it. Here, there's not as much build within the actual sort of like greater hobby, but within wrestling collectors, everybody's excited about this. We want to get the product early. It's to Jameson's point, it's been delayed. All of this stuff, like we've got to drive sort of at the point of like people just wanting to get their hands on product, I think is going to be a key here.
You got to remember too.
I think one other quick. Go ahead, Ryan.
Okay, I want to make a real quick point. This is only the second super premium product you've seen from Panini. So the knowledge base is still not there for a lot of people. Now, a year from now, when 2023 Immaculate hits, there'll be a much larger knowledge base because you'll be able to see it, see how it performs and everything else. But, for now, when you have these new products, it's the first time people are seeing them, and you have a large contingent that are still in the tops mode of things where I can buy a box for $60, and you really need to have a very visual campaign with this stuff. So go ahead, Jameson.
I was going to say one other thing that I think could make a major impact on the product, either plus or minus, especially right before FOL. I'm guessing Panini is doing kind of like a slow roll of who signed what and what they've signed. So if we start to see previews of a Triple H is already hard signed, a John Cena has already signed his card, a Roman Reigns has already signed his card, then people don't have to worry about half their hits being redemptions. Yep. Now, not only is that, now it's a more attractive, and I'm not a huge fan of it, but for people to just buy them and store them. Because we see what some of the old WWE product sells for, where you can't even fathom getting a hit out of it worth what some of these boxes are selling for now. But once the product dries up, people want the product. So if they know they don't have to worry about expired redemptions for some of the major stars, I think that's an overall big boost to the product for the longevity.
God, that
and
is
people will be willing to step up. Yeah.
I didn't even think about that, and that's why I'm so happy to have some of your context here, because you've dealt with a lot of this. Like, that is a humongous point. And I think if Randy Orton signed his cards, we've seen that, so that's a redemption probably not going to happen in Immaculate. We've seen some of the John Cena stuff come out. We've seen the Batista stuff come out. So the people that were early redemptions have done some signings. I think there's probably going to be an inevitable batch of redemptions because there's so many people. I'm guessing the Bloodline booklet, which we didn't even talk about, the Bloodline booklet is going to be live because they're all stickers. So that's the only card in the product, I believe, that's all stickers. So I think we should see that 100% live. But overall, man, like, that is a humongous point, because if we have the first live Roman Reigns cards, we have the first, for a while since, I think since Prism is really, that isn't sticker. He's been redemption a lot. And I think it's just because he's not around as much. Yeah. They tend to do a lot of these signings, it seems like, at the event. So he's not around as much. He's not signing as much. But Royal Rumble is usually when Topps used to get just an absolute ton of signatures, because everybody's there. There's 30 people in each Rumble. So the whole roster is there on call, and alternates and stuff like that. There's a lot of opportunity to sign cards. I'm really hoping that we get Roman Reigns live. I'm hoping we get Triple H live, so on and so forth. So just to wrap this up, I want to give one more go around the horn here. What is, if you could have one card out of this product that you can see, just not necessarily because you don't know what the one-on-ones are going to contain or the relics and stuff like that. What is the one card that you would want to have from this product? And then just tell everybody, you know, kind of where they can reach you again, Jamison and Ryan, so that if they want to follow you on social media, they can do that. But yeah, let's start with Jamison. One card. What's your go-to here?
I mean, it's got to be the 101 premium memorabilia Roman Reigns card. I mean, that's my collection. There's a lot of cool cards. There's a lot of cards I love to have, but to have the one card, I imagine based on what I've seen them do, what they did with the National Treasures Roman, I would just guess the patch is pretty nice on it. And so that would be my one card. So if you hit it out there, I'm buying.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. So where can they find you, Jamison? Just one more time.
Yeah, so the best place is probably on Instagram. It's at Exquisite Sports Collectibles. So yeah, if you ever see anything you like, or if you're selling any high-end stuff, especially Roman Reigns for wrestling cards, hit me up. Always looking to buy.
Awesome. Ryan?
One point I did want to make real quick, there are hoodie cards in this set, and I'm interested to see if they're going to be the laces from the hoodie like they've been doing with the shoe cards. And for those of you that don't know, whenever those pop up in a basketball box, the pack comes out of the, and it's like,
right.
It's like 50%, the lid is 50% higher, and because it's got the whole shoe tongue and everything on it. So I'm hoping if with the hoodie cards, they make it with the laces. As far as the card I'd want, it's tough for me, but it's got to be that Stone Cold, Mick Foley, Undertaker, Triple H quad auto.
That's
I mean,
huge.
hard sign. I'm an attitude baby. That's my time frame. The only thing that makes it better is maybe if you take Foley out and put The Rock in, but
right.
I mean, just for me, but that card, there's so many cards that are going to be just centerpieces of people's collections from this set. I'm really excited for it. As far as social media, nothing right now. Like I said, I might start on Instagram. I might not. I don't know. It depends on
It might feel cute later.
I'm not on Twitter anymore. So really no way to reach me. But I still love you guys. I love doing these videos.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you guys both. For me, so Jamison, you kind of took mine. I definitely want the premium one. Okay, there's a couple of things here that we didn't talk about that I think are going to be really awesome cards. One is the Pat McAfee cards. We didn't get a chance to talk about those. There's a ring relic there for that. I think some of the premium memorabilia where they're like we saw Rhea Ripley's leather jacket and the cell sheet. But for me, my one card, so across Topps, if you look at everything Topps made, there was never a dual multi-sign memorabilia card that was on card. They were always stickers. And in this set, there is a dual autograph memorabilia set, which I think is going to be really cool to see how they sort of play it out. We've never had that in Topps. We haven't had that in Panini yet. I think this is going to be one of those sets that just flies under the radar a little bit until you see some of those insane relics come through. But if we get dual logo, one of one, sort of dual memorabilia autograph with the WWE logo, man, chef's kiss. That would be great. So those are, I hope we get, there's a Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair one that's going to be pretty cool. Given their WrestleMania match, I think there's going to be so many like Ryan said, there's going to be so many statement pieces in this set. I know Jamison, you're probably going to get all of them. I will probably have to, take out a loan out of my 401k to get some of this stuff. But this is what we live for as collectors. These are what we sort of drive for to build around. And I mean, I love superfractors. I love, the black 101s. I love collecting stuff like that. But I've always sort of gravitated towards these exquisite type products, right, that are driven by memorabilia and autographs and stuff like that. And I think this is probably one of the prime examples we'll see for WWE and Panini. As much as I would like to see a Flawless or an Eminence or something like that, I'm not sure if we're going to get there this year, but maybe down the road. So I'm really excited to see sort of how this turns out. We got to see it live. We got to see it live.
I know.
Panini really needs to put out some live images.
They've put out a few. I think they've put out a few that have been really sort of whet your appetite, but not main course. And I think we need to see some main course stuff because that'll really drive the price up. But Panini's already sold all of this out, so it's not like they really care. But I think the collectors are dying to see what these things look like. The ones that they've put out have all looked awesome. So guys, thank you so much for joining. I think, I love bringing new voices to WTC TV, and Jamison is one of those new voices. I like to bring them on at least one per video. Ryan and I do this a lot, so be sure to subscribe and like and comment on the sort of what you're thinking of these collection videos and some of these educational moments, because we want to do more content like this. We want to hear from you guys and what's really going to make sense for you. But it's been wonderful. It's been awesome to make these videos and to have these conversations, because like I always say, like, usually we're having these conversations at card shops. No one gets to see them. Here we're videotaping it and you get to see it live. So I'm really excited to do that. Thanks again, Jamison. Thanks, Ryan, as always. We'll see you guys later.